Hello everybody, my name is Goodboy. Welcome to my video on the latest 21.3 patch, my reactions to it and a few predictions on the meta. Now I'm not going to cover all of it, but this is a bit of a reckoning. Essentially they've ruined all of the overpowered decks, which ironically, normally I like overpowered decks, but a lot of people have been complaining about it. So, you know, I didn't mind them doing it in other things, but on duels they've kind of had a bit of a reckoning, but we'll get onto that later. Okay, so we'll start with standard and wild updates. This is probably better for the game because, you know, it's different in standard. So Ironbound Brute, he's now costing 8 instead of 7. He's such good value and so easy to play for 0 mana or close to 0 mana. And, you know, a 6-7 taunt's pretty OP. I could see that going up further, much like Flesh Golem, but anyway. Now this one I think ruins the card completely. Okay, so swap hands and decks with your opponent till next turn. Now that just wrecked. It was a good card because you had someone who was just about to kill you, and then you played this card and then ruined everything they were trying to achieve. And it was just, I mean, it was very, very broken and overpowered. Now it's replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's until place a copy with your opponent's until the end of turn. It's different. It's not as overpowered. I felt this was mainly aimed at ruining your enemy as opposed to benefiting yourself. So I could see some merit in this. It allows you to see what they're doing, but it is a major nerf for this deck, for this card. A major, major nerf. However, I wouldn't say it was significant enough to get rid of the card or disenchant it for dust. That's still extremely strong, particularly for 3 mana. So it's just... okay, alright, fine. And look, here's the notes. Look, with refinement to Shadow Priest in recent weeks, Mindrender Lucia has been overperforming in the archetype with in an unintended way. Instead of being used as a late game disruption tool, Shadow Priest have been using Lucia as an early game play to essentially skip the opponent's turn. This change is aimed at removing that problematic gameplay for Lucia while keeping her similar space with her effect. Yeah, well here's the problem. You've not done that at all. That's like, what a load of rubbish. It's overperforming, absolutely. Late game disruption tool, well if you wanted that, change its mana cost to 5 or something. And instead Shadow Priest will be using it in early game to skip the opponent's turn. I don't think that's particularly relevant. So I disagree. Right, and then this card was completely, utterly broken, overpowered. So most minions you're going to face in the early parts of the game are going to have 3 health or less. Okay, this is a board wipe for 1 mana, and yeah, fine, you overloaded a lot of minion, but this is absolutely insane. I frankly think 2 is not good enough. I think it needs to be 3 or something. Very, very strong card. So yeah, it is a very efficient tool, particularly for questline. Yeah, I don't think that goes far enough, frankly, but anyway, whatever. Okay, alright, yeah, so... this makes sense. It did seem very easy to play this card, and then once you do play it, it's kind of GG. And there you go, yeah, slowing down the speed, more room for counterplay, particularly for slow strategies, yeah. Right, now this one, this next one had an absolute reckoning. So Demon Seed has now been changed. You now have to take 8 damage on your turn. And then the second tier of it, Lifelink, same thing again, you have to take 8 damage on your turn. And let's face facts, this is incredibly efficient. This is probably one of the most broken, overpowered quest lines ever made, particularly for Warlock, given how much sustain it's got anyway. It's now banned in Wild, look at that. That makes complete sense, because that's anything that everyone played. And to be honest, that's after banning other cards as well. Once this goes into Wild, I think it will see a nerf. I could see this when we see our new year, which is, where are we now? This next year, April next year. I could see this going straight into, I could see all the quest lines going straight into Wild, and not having 2 years of play in Standard, because it's just absurd. But it's banned in Wild, and that makes sense because it just ruined everything. Anyway, yeah, so there you go, look. here we go, dev comment. After monitoring both Standard and Wild since the release of Storm, we've decided that to increase the damage required for the first 2 steps Standard and ban the questline in Wild. In Standard, we are slightly upping the amount of damage needed to complete questline to slow down the speed at which Tamsin locks up games. In Wild, there are many more efficient self-damaging cards. Demon Seed can be completed at an unintentionally fast rate. We are banning the card to protect the format from problematic gameplay created. When the Demon Seed rotates a while, we'll unban it and reposition this card to be more appropriate for the format. Yeah, absolutely. Like, take 12 damage or something. Alright, this is a good card. I personally didn't think this was particularly necessary, but now it costs 4 instead of 3 mana. And this is just, draw 4 cards, reduce their cost by 1. I didn't think it was that, But anyway, overperform relative to mana generation sources and other classes, mainly due to Warlock's draw card potential. That makes sense. Go 1 mana will bring Ruin Mithril power level more in line with that of other classes. Makes sense, but, Anyway, following cards have been adjusted up in a power level. Dev's comments. We're looking for opening up a few more strategies for some less diverse classes and underrepresented archetypes in the standard metagame. These buffs are aimed at some weaker archetypes that make them more appealing options to play with. Some of these changes are on the lighter side in anticipation for a mini set coming out in the next major patch after launching Mercenaries. Ah yes, who can forget the mini set that is largely redundant but has 1 legendary in it that you have to have and therefore you end up buying it. So leatherworking kit, draw friendly, after 3 enemies die, draw a beast and give it +1 durability. Now it costs 1 mana. I mean that's pretty cheap for 1 mana. Don't know what archetype you're going to use it for, but anyway. This now has 3 health instead of 1 health. I mean, hooray for, playing this in standard? Not standard, duels, but... So this is good for duels. Now this, to me, is ridiculous. This was already good for 2 mana. It's now 1 mana. That's crazy. I think we could definitely see some mage decks running this. And then look at this. Now it costs 8 mana instead of 10. And again, I think it's a really strong card. So that's a very, very interesting mage strategy. Although, to be fair, will it be quest line? No, let's face facts. Now, this is great for pirate duels. If you care about the duels angle. So now he has 4 health instead of 3. Minor buff, but anyway. And now this guy has 6 health instead of 5. So again, minor, but, And then this guy has +2 health instead of +1. Again, very, very good for duels. I think pirate warrior strategy for duels might work. Having said that, they've removed Rally the Troops and and altogether now they've changed it anyway. Alright, so this next section is on Battlegrounds. Now I'm going to skip this because I don't particularly play Battlegrounds anymore. I'm very much out of shape. I don't know what the impact of these means, but I'm sure they would have balanced it in a nice way that works quite well. Oh, hold on, what's this? They've buffed it. Okay, fine. Anyway, looks like they're doing a lot of buffing actually. Okay, right, so here is the small, almost like who cares, whatever. But what they've done in duels is absolutely insanely bonkers. Okay, so party replacements, which is good. A 2/2 adventurer every single turn that you play. It's pretty strong, and it's a really great wall to stop you. I didn't think it was that strong, and I didn't feel it needed the movement on the others. Rally the Troops, on the other hand, every single deck archetype is based around one of these 2 archetypes. Either Rally the Troops, or Ups All Spells. Those were literally the only 2 that had it. Every other archetype, if you don't have Ups All Spells or Rally the Troops, literally pointless. Well, okay, fine, except for the other one that I played with, which is Stargazing, which again is ultra rare. So, putting all these into ultra rare is fine, because they are annoyingly overused and broken and overpowered. But what it essentially means is goodbye to those archetypes, hello to something new, refreshing and exciting. I mean, it's interesting. I just worry because these 2, if you got like Rally the Troops or Ups All Spells, it basically meant you had a free 12 win. Now that is not the case, and I think the number of 12 wins is going to drop quite notably, which saves obviously Blizzard gold, but screws over all the fun that we have in duels. The whole point of duels is you get these ridiculously overpowered decks, and it's like a battle between the gods. Anyway. Anyway, so the moving passive drew to the ultra rare. So if you get them, Not that they're that good. Congratulations, you get to enjoy them. Right, all together now, which was absurd. It was like Meat Mastery, absolutely bonkers. Has now been moved to Treasure Pool 1 to 2. So, you know, you can see it. I mean, that to me actually seems fair. And Void Touch Attendant has now been banned from deck creation. That was so strong. You know, as soon as I crafted my first deck with it, I said, and I think I might have actually got like a 10 or a 12 win with it. I said, this is going to get banned. And sure enough, it is. Along with, you know, the face smash for 5 damage. Okay. So they've changed arena updates. I don't really care about arena that much. I'm not saying it's a bad mode. It doesn't work for me. And now they've made it more even with some of the classes. Now, I don't normally talk about bug updates, but actually these ones are quite important. So they fixed a bug causing crashes when friends list was opened. And they fixed a bug where friends could sometimes not be challenged. I had that all the time. It was so annoying. Some of the other bugs just make sure the game works properly. But if you've been having that with your friends list, or where you just can't challenge your friends, that issue is now resolved. Okay, cool. So fine, let's go to reflections. I'm mainly a duels player, I'm not going to lie to you. This, in many ways, is a sad outcome, because I feel like there needs to be one in between this. I mean, I was getting bored of Rally the Troops. I wasn't bored of Upsol spells, that was fine. But I feel like what this does mean is you're going to have to come up with more creative strategies. But I just think, on average, they're going to be less 12 wins. And that, to me, is saddening, because that's part of the fun for duels. Having said that, I think there may still be opportunities to build broke, overpowered decks that aren't particularly dependent on these two. I can't think of any to mind right now, but I'm sure they must exist somewhere out there. Maybe you could have a strategy where you focus on it all together now. But I would say the big problem you're going to have now is draw card is going to be a much bigger issue than ever before. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, please hit the like, subscribe and share. Please subscribe. I would love you to subscribe. Thank you so much. And stay strong, everyone. Goodbye.